laugh like hell. Let's have some fun doing it. That's a big part of it. But let's just don't waste any time or energy. It's all about winning. Please reflect that each and every day.
It's time for another edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco, joined by Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy inside Ford Center as it's Sunday night football this week, the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. And coach going up against another NFC East opponent, one that's a half game ahead of you in the standings. And it's easy to get motivated to play against the Eagles, isn't it?
Oh, no question. I mean, this is all part of the division rivalry series, as I like to look at it. I think it's important to recognize, being a Dallas Cowboy, how everybody kind of checks the box when you're on the schedule. These division games are always so important, and it is definitely the case here Sunday. We all recognize where we are in the season, as far as our record, but we obviously have spent a lot of time this week on self-improvement. So I'm looking for us to take a step in that direction.
Well, let's first start off looking at this Philadelphia defense, Cowboys offense going up and against an Eagles defense that has a strong front. You faced a strong front last week in Washington. A couple of veterans on that front four for Philadelphia, though, and Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, who already has 6 sacks this season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely starts up front with these guys, and they do a great job, with the rotation of it. Very aggressive defense, even schematically too. So we anticipate an aggressive game plan, from the Eagles, and so that's really a big part of our focus in the Wednesday and Thursday work this week.
As this week began, Andy Dalton's status up in the air in concussion protocol. Let's talk about Ben DiNucci and tell fans a little bit about what Ben DiNucci is all about. It's interesting, a story that Ben told us right after he was drafted. First time he met you was on the elevator here at the Star in Frisco, as, of course, he was leading James Madison into the FCS National Championship the same week that you were hired as Cowboys coach.
Yeah, definitely. It was neat to see Ben. Obviously being a native of Pittsburgh, just very familiar with his history, and he's a young man that has a great opportunity in front of him. So, but he's raw. There's no question about it. So it's very important for us to have a really good game plan. It's important for Ben to make sure he has total command of the game plan and utilize the matchups that we feel we have going into the game.
Ben also told us he was coached by your late brother Joe, 8th grade basketball in Pittsburgh. What is it that you really liked about Ben DiNucci when you first looked at him on tape?
You're always looking at the quarterback class each and every year as you prepare for the draft, and when you have a Dak Prescott, you're obviously not really entertaining the thought of the quarterbacks you think are going to go in the early rounds. So I always look for athletic ability, key characteristics that you feel that you can develop, and I think we really hit a home run with Ben. There's a lot there to work with. He's played a lot of quarterback. Played for a premier high school in Pittsburgh. Had an experience at Pitt. Obviously, had a very positive experience at James Madison. So, he knows how to play. Has a lot of flexibility in his arm talent, but he's just raw, and he sees the game. He's an anticipator. He can make plays when things break down. So, I think he's an excellent quarterback to develop.
Another young guy I want to ask you about, the rookie center who's now 4.5 games into his NFL career. How's Tyler Biadasz coming along?
Actually, Tyler played well in Washington. I mean, he was one of the bright spots. We saw a number of pressures from their defense that they hadn't really shown much at all. It was part of our history study on both Ron and Jack, the defensive coordinator and head coach there. So I thought he did a really nice job in recognizing that, and was clean with his declarations, and I thought he played a real solid game.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show. Up next, it's David Moore, the Dallas Morning News.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, is brought to you by AT&T. Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Built for Texas, built for you. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. And by Reliant. an NRG company. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like SportsDay. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco, now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, SportsDay, DFW.com. David, we've got a matchup for first place in the NFC East as the Eagles have the half-game lead over the Cowboys right now. And these two teams are kind of similar in other ways, both of them the walking wounded through the first 7 games of this season.
Well, one, it's hard not to be for first place when no team in the division has more than 2 wins. Just about any matchup is going to entail that. But you're right. I mean, both of these teams have struggled and have tried to fight their way through a wide swath of injuries. And these are key injuries, too. This is not just impacting depth. This is impacting starting ability to execute your game plan. Each of these teams have been dramatically compromised by the injuries they have suffered. I think there's one difference at the moment. You know, Philadelphia has really been working through injuries for the last 2 years. This is the first year in a while that Dallas has been hit as hard as it has been with key injuries across the board. And I think you saw last week against Washington and the game before that, the Monday night game against Arizona, excuse me. They're still trying to fight through and get their traction, get their equilibrium as they wrestle with how this team is going to be dramatically different with the injuries they've had and how they have to go forward.
And, of course, things have been dramatically different for the Cowboys offense ever since Dak Prescott went down with his injury, even with Andy Dalton at quarterback. We'll see what happens going forward here, but a total of 13 points the last 2 games after Dak's injury.
And yeah, I mean, this was a team that was so prolific, was scoring at such a high clip. They were turning it over, but they were one of the best offenses in the league from a yardage standpoint. In fact, they were number 1 at the time when Dak was injured. They're one of the most explosive teams in the league. And what they have to get back to here, and it's going to be difficult, is you go back to the Washington game. 2 of their most explosive, impactful players offensively, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. CeeDee Lamb had really for the first time all year, looked like a rookie, had a bad game, made some drops, didn't make plays he had been making in the previous 5 weeks. And then Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup is their deep threat. He's the guy who really stretches the defense vertically. But with the injuries in the offensive line and with the injury to Andy Dalton and then going to Ben DiNucci, Dallas didn't really have the time to get the ball downfield to Michael Gallup. I think they still have to figure out a way to get the ball to Michael Gallup and believe and hope, and he should, that CeeDee Lamb has a better game than what he had against Washington for this offense to have a little bit more juice.
All right, we'll see if improvements will be made by Sunday night. David Moore, we appreciate it. And up next here on the Mike McCarthy Show, how about we take a look at some of those reinforcements on this Dallas defense?
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like SportsDay. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now. Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star as we get you set for the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Sunday night football this week. And Rob Phillips has more on some reinforcements the Cowboys are hoping for on this Dallas defense.
The theme of the week on defense has been change. Everson Griffin traded to Detroit. Dontari Poe and Daryl Worley released. 3 veteran offseason additions no longer on the roster. But as the defense seeks improvement, they're also about to get help from familiar faces. Up front, look for a larger role for Randy Gregory at defensive end and outside linebacker. In his season debut, Gregory played only 6 snaps against Washington. Without Griffin, there are more snaps to go around. Gregory is just getting back to football after a 1.5-year NFL suspension. But the Cowboys have seen the same natural pass rush skills that made him a second-round draft pick back in 2015.
Immediate electricity. that's who Randy is. He's an electrifying player. He makes big plays. He gets off the ball. He's going to be Randy. You know, when you talk about grind and grit, he's been through a lot, but he's a guy that's never going to quit.
At linebacker, Leighton Vander Esch played a full snap count last week for the first time since the middle of 2019. Back from September collarbone surgery, he tied for the lead in tackles against Washington. He and Jalen Smith have been a productive tandem when both are healthy. And Sean Lee's eventual return from injured reserve will also help the depth. Also, with Chido Awuzie on his way back from a hamstring injury, the cornerback position will receive an upgrade. Sunday's opponent, the Eagles, are as banged up as Dallas. But Carson Wentz and the Philly offense are still finding ways to put points on the board with different combinations of players. The Cowboys secondary has to limit big plays. So far, 7 plays over 40 yards allowed in 7 games. Now, some might say parting ways with 3 veteran defensive players might signal that the rest of the season outlook is bleak. Not the Cowboys. They're a half game back of the Eagles, and they still feel like they've got a chance in the division. On defense, it helps that help is on the way. For DallasCowboys.com, I'm Rob Phillips.
Thanks, Rob. And now, here on the Mike McCarthy Show, brought to you by WinStar, it's our weekly segment with Will McClay as he breaks down Carson Wentz and the 2 weapons that he most relies on this Philly offense.
Today we're going to take a look at Carson Wentz and a couple of his weapons on the Philly offense. They don't have their number 1 and number 2 targets, but we're going to look at a couple of young guys that they have on the offensive side. Now we're going to take a look at a couple of clips of Greg Ward and Carson Wentz, the synergy they have. Ward was on their practice squad. He was a college quarterback, but doing a good job filling in. He is aware and he sees and reads the defense like a quarterback. On this route, we're going to take a look here. I've got him circled. What they're going to do is run a route, and he's going to read and find the void in the zone. So here we go. You'll see the route. The linebacker will run in the middle. Ward finds the hole in the defense. Wentz finds him. Good play to get him in scoring position. Now we're going to take another look at Ward and his intelligence and the ability to read coverage. Here it's 2 high safeties, 1, 2 here. All right, and the receiver here is going to run a vertical route, which takes the DB out. There's inside leverage from this DB. He'll push hard inside, and then he's going to make space and find the void in the defense there. All right, here we go. We'll run it. Showing the route. You'll see the safety leave. 82 is going to push the receiver vertical, hard inside move, set up the DB. There's a window for the quarterback to make a throw, and then he goes and meets the football. Now we're going to take a look at Fulgham and see just how and why Carson Wentz relies on him. It's going to be 2-man coverage. Both safeties are going to split. Fulgham circle is going to run the middle of the field. He's going to be man covered. All right, we'll run this play, but why he likes him is at the end of the play, being able to go up over the DB and make a play. They see pressure coming, he points it out, knows he's going to get 2-man coverage, runs with him, makes a great throw, and a contested catch in traffic. Now we're going to take a look at the importance of our rush lanes when we're rushing the quarterback here. We want to keep him in the pocket. You'll see here where Baltimore rushes him on the edge. The defender goes inside here. They rush here, but they leave him a lane to escape, and he's got the athletic ability to take advantage of it. All right, here you go. You see the rush lanes. Linebackers there to kind of affect the protection. He falls out. They leave the alley right there. Pump fake, he escapes, and now you're going to see the athletic ability and the speed of Carson, ability to break tackles. There's a 40-yard run. Just to look at a couple of guys along with Carson Wentz that we have to stop on the Philadelphia offense.
All right, thanks, Will. Up next here on the Mike McCarthy Show, the coach rejoins us, and we explore some of these changes on the Dallas defense. Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Let's take a look at this Dallas defense, Coach, and trade deadline coming up on Tuesday. And you made a move this past Tuesday. Everson Griffin traded to the Detroit Lions. What was behind that move?
Well, I think anytime you get to this point in the season, I mean, there's a lot of conversation between your personnel department and the rest of the personnel departments around the league. I think it's just something that we have young players that we feel good about, that have established themselves. I mean, anytime you get to 6, 7, 8 games in the season, if you're training the younger players right, you have a good beat on what where they are and how they can contribute. So this is just something that we felt was in the best interest of our football team.
How much will this enable Randy Gregory to get on the field more?
Well, that's part of the conversation. I mean, that definitely, Randy didn't play much against Washington, so this definitely gives him an opportunity to get significantly more reps.
Let's talk about this Eagles offense. Carson Wentz now in his 5th year. Of course, they've dealt with some injuries of their own. They're getting some guys back healthy again. But what have you liked all along about Carson Wentz?
Well, I liked his athletic ability. He's definitely has the ability to play tall in the pocket. So, the first thing I always look at, particularly when quarterbacks come out, their ability to play in the pocket and play out of the pocket, and he has that. He can make all the throws. Has great confidence to make all of the throws. I mean, the throw he made, there at the end of the game against the Giants was his big time throws that I've seen all season. So, dynamic football player and a heck of a quarterback.
One guy that's emerged as this season has gone along at wide receiver, big receiver, and Travis Fulgham, who is a waiver claim earlier this season, and he's put up some very productive numbers. What is it that makes him special? Well,
I tell you, I think just what you have stated, his history, I think you see him and Carson really on the same page. That's the thing that kind of jumps out on me is some of the timing, and as far as him getting the ball, getting it distributed. So, this offense is going to be a big challenge for us defensively.
I want to ask you about your rookie in the secondary, the 2nd-round pick, Trayvon Diggs. Of course, he got beat on the one play against Washington last week, but now as he's 7 games into his NFL career, what are you seeing out of Trayvon?
Trayvon is one heck of a football player, and I'm really happy with the young man. Just not only what he's done in the games, but he's battled through each week through some things that you don't normally see young guys play with. So he's doing a heck of a job. I think he has a very, very bright future in this league, and he just needs to continue to grow and continue to learn from the experiences, particularly the one in Washington.
And another rookie, your 3rd-round pick, Neville Gallimore, got the start against Washington last week and played the most number of snaps he's played in a game. How's he coming along?
He's getting better. I mean, he needs to play. He needs to carry the practice field reps to the game field. So, you can see, in Washington that wasn't the case all the time. So, but love his energy. Love his ability. But he's a young man that needs to play more football.
All right, we wrap up this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, and we come back in just a moment. Final couple minutes of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Coach, against the Eagles, against every team, special teams are so important. You got a 65-yard kickoff return from Tony Pollard last week. And what are you seeing out of your special teams? Certain guys that have stepped up this season?
Definitely. I think you're seeing our special teams unit getting better each week. I mean, we've had some things that we need to learn from almost in each and every game. But, boy, I really like the way this unit's coming together, regardless of who we roll in there in the punt protection or the punt return. I think our linebacker group has really made an impact on the special teams. And we got some young players that are really developing. I was really happy to see Tony, hit that return because, we've been close. And it's definitely something we're going to need Sunday night.
Well, and Sunday night in Philadelphia, of course, in this atmosphere, it's not what it usually is in Philadelphia, but it's always a great rivalry when the Cowboys go in to play Philly, right?
No question. I mean, we clearly understand the type of game that we're walking into and what's ahead of us, the challenge. So, we got to make sure that we're the more physical football team. We're the football team that finishes the best because, these division games, especially at Philadelphia, it's going to be one physical night.
All right, good luck against those Eagles on Sunday night. We appreciate it, Coach, and we appreciate all of you joining us here on the Mike McCarthy Show. We will see you again next week.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Built for Texas, built for you. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. GEICO, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. and by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.